Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of Solo Chogokin and Z. I have to say it was been a long time since we saw a new Mazinger Z. Oh well, from the unboxing. I mean Bandai, at least almost a year without a new Mazinger Z. The last one was the GX01R Tokyo Limited. New. In fact, I also said the GX70 were finished, but evidently Bandai has too many colors available. In fact, this is not a real new model, but is a beautiful colored recycling Bandai style. Yes, indeed. Today we're gonna talk about much more in the detail of the GX70SPD Damage Dynamic Classic Anime Color version. Woo! I have to say, very nice model. Yes, if you don't have already the GX70D Damage. Anyway, let's go. Roll the video.
赤く染めてマジンゴーマジンゴー
Let's start from the box after this dramatic introduction. Dynamic classic style box has structure and not images. However, the model in the center but decentralized with the new color. A close-up of Mazinger Z and Koji on the right, order of enemy on the left as already we had seen in the GX70D. However, this box dissociated itself from all the SP edition we had seen, not using the same image of the basic model, but in color. In fact, if we compare with the GX70D, we note that image on the right and left are different. On the right, the image is reversed, but if we look carefully, it is different. And on the left, completely different. Is not longer follow the image of the anime as we had seen in the GX70D review. We no longer have the 20th anniversary logo, but we always have the logo of the film Mazinger Z vs Dark General. Sideways we have the various opponents that will damage Mazinger Z, and here too the image changed from the GX70D. On the other side, the extension of the cover image, as always, precisely different from the GX70D. Above and below, everything like the GX70D, the model name with the image of Mazinger Z just visible. We turn the box and we have the various image. How can you put your model with two images of the Great Mazinger? Exactly like the GX70D, all the same except one. Now the close-up of the Great Mazinger during the fire on and not with the Brian Kondo already attached. Let's open the box and we have the robot, the Jet Scrander Damage, a second pants from more dynamic poses, a second arm for Mazinger Z, two arms for the Great Mazinger with the coloring of the film, as we already see in the episode of GX73SP. Let's compare everything with the GX70D and we see the contents is the same, only the colors change. We have a dynamic display, two Mazinger swords, and two stand-up, one classic and one dynamic. Here too the same accessory of the GX70D. Let's move on to instructions that are in the black and white. Of course, they are the same of those of the GX70D, but only with the name GX70SPD, and that's it. They explain the contents and how everything works. Let's move on to the booklet, as always in full color, accordion folded, very nice cover, and inside some preparatory images and some poster from the era of the film. Spoiler alert! The various enemy of the final fight. We compare the booklet with the one of the GX70D and we see the cover is the same and the back cover are the same of the box image of each box. The first page is the same, but we see the GX70D has more pages and does not open accordion style with different images. Let's move on to the display of the GX70SPD, which is the classic dynamic display with the ruined name Mazinger Z. Let's open it, and we have two ends that can hold the sword but with different inclination angle. Two open ends for the Great Mazinger, an open end for Mazinger Z, a set of drill missile setup, a Rocchetto punch cover, a jet pilder damage, two Bryant's Condor, one in flight mode and one to insert in your GX73SP. As we see, this content is also the same of the GX70D model. We are going to insert the classic stand-up that can be adjusted, or we can add in the side holes the dynamic stand-up. Nothing new, in fact, all the same as the GX70D, even the ruined name is the same. Here we are at the jet pilder of this beautiful GX70SPD with those opaque color, rich in detail, with a broken glass and koji, exactly like the GX70D. In fact, if we compare them, nothing new, only the coloring is different. As I said, the coloring has become more opaque. Personally, the rear engine, I prefer those of the GX70D, more metallic with a black inside. In the GX70SPD we also have the central engine colored grey and no longer red. However, both beautiful. Let's move on to the Bryant Condor that we already see in the episode GX73SPD. Is the Bryant Condor of the film without the lower missile launcher because precisely designed before the TV series, and slightly different with a smaller cockpit. Here they are all together. Let's take a close look at the two models, and we note apart from the coloring, everything is the same. Let's move on to the version to be inserted to the head of the Great Mazinger. These two we had already seen in the episode of the GX73SP. Here all the various models. But let's take a close look of the various difference with the GX70D. And apart from the coloring and the glass that is no longer transparent, the model is the same. As I said, it is a pity not having insert the pilot Tetsuya. But perhaps the colored glass is better than having it transparent and not having the pilot visible. Here are all the Bryant Condor insert in the GX73SP. Here it is, the Scrander has come out from the box, must be assembled and followed the internal guideline as each Scrander of the various Mazingers. Here it is, very beautiful, exactly like the GX70D, obviously with a different coloring, more opaque, all the silver parts have turned blue-gray. The engine in the GX70D are more gray, while now whiter. Even the burns and the damaged parts are the same, the belt is a whiter, while before more silver grey. Internally now it is bluish grey and no longer silver, identically also the hole for the Southern Cross. Here we are at the GX70SPD robot, as it's come out from the box, practically already assembled. Let's look at it closely, a very beautiful model, rich in detail, with this blue-gray reflects the color of the film very well. We are the pilder and we see the joints are all exactly like the GX70D, with some limits on the legs, because obviously we can remove the pants and add the more dynamic one. and we see the joint as being colored gray like the legs and not black like the GX73SP. We put the second pants and we see can be possible only for one leg. Obviously you can add the pants from GX70SP. All parts are interchangeable between the various models. Now it has large movement in one leg to recreate the various position of the film. Let's add the second arm by removing the Rocchetto punch cover and see how many details this model has. They really had all the detail from the movie. Very nice. We can add the joints for arms to simulate the launch of the drill missile. Very nice. We note that some parts doesn't stick together as they should. We add the various ends by removing the closed fist. We see the open end. We add the end with the sword with the low angle. And we see that we have the other fist with the most vertical angle. The swords are similar to those of the GX70D, obviously different coloring, with more flat color and with the bluest blade that we had already seen in the GX73SP, which in my opinion does not reflect the coloration of the film. I don't know why this color. However, apply the sword to the end, must be removed the low part at the end and reapply the low part. Beautiful model. We see other joints of the body. Behind we can add the jet scrander and close the belt. Let's see it from all angles, and with the two arms we see how beautiful this model it is. As I said, the various parts between the various models are interchangeable, and in fact we add the face with the eyes off of the GX70SP. Pity this face is not present in the package. Practically you have to buy all models, obviously the famous Bandai strategy. Let's compare the Mazinger Z with that one from the GX70D, and we see that apart from the color the model is exactly the same. But no, let's take a close look to the feet, and we notice that in the GX70D we have more detail than we have in the GX70SPD. The various scratch of the feet. Apart from this and the various opaque color and the silver parts that's become blue-gray, the model is the same. Let's put it together with the GX73SP. Great Mazinger, beautiful together, ready to cross the swords. Last things, as we already see, we have the arms from the Great Mazinger to recreate the exit from the water, as in the movie Mazinger Z vs Dark General. The uniform blue color and no longer with the black side flaps. A touch of fineness. I would have preferred Tetsuya in the Brian Condor. Here we are at the conclusion and the price for this GX70SPD Anime Color Dynamic Classic. I must say, really nice model with this color really similar to those of the film, for a price of 15,400 yen. 233 New Zealand dollars, 130 euros. But being a special edition, it can be found at the price slightly increased, unfortunately. But I wonder if it was really necessary to have this model. I will say no. The GX70D was already beautiful, but we know that in recent years the anime color is in vogue, and so here we are to this GX70SPD. This was the last Mazinger Z for a while. Unboxing was on the way, but international shipment from Japan has been suspended, and therefore we will have a new series as soon as possible. Stay home, stay safe, see you next time, always here at Solo Chogokin and Z.